It's Friday, it's 4 o'clock, and I'm bloody well back. Welcome to Short Fuse. I hope you have had an interesting few weeks. It's been very interesting. I've been in Italy, I've been around, I've been in France, and I thought I could leave this place in capable hands. But no. What did Tweedledum and Tweedledoo, Doodle-doo, do? Show the video of the two and what they do in there. My God, has it been terrible? I can't believe the banter. And then they put our faces up. And the worst thing is then they made me a fat bloke. Now, I know shut up. I know I've put a bit of tonnage, but that is out of order. So they've both been sacked, right? And from now on, Alex and Rob will do the whole show. Is that right, boys? Yeah, good, boo, yeah. Anyway, no, big thanks to Pri and Johnny for trying to do things. But the professional's back. Good week, bad week. What's been happening? It's been bloody hot. That's been really what's going on. Good week for Indian cricket so far, but we never know what's going to happen. Bad week for Amazon because, frankly, you don't pay your tax, do you? Allegedly. All right, let's get on to stories. And the story that really hits us this week is all about Ofgem. Now, you know my views on Ofgem, but this one is actually quite a good one from them. They believe the supplier model is dead. Well, they don't actually say that, but they say the supplier hub needs to be looked at. Why is that? Because they've looked at what's happening. Market reforms, new technologies, peer-to-peer trading, the whole thing that's going on, which has happened really, really quickly over the last, I would say, 2 years, maybe, not even that. So if you look at all the major reforms that have been going on, EMR happened in 2010, and then there's been a slow progression of what Ofgem thinks works best for the customer. But what we've seen in the last 18 months to 2 years is a rapid proliferation of smaller energy companies, a rapid, I mean incredible uptake of technology in this sector. You know, 2 years ago, we would talk about electric cars, but they were still quite distant. Now you see tons of them being driven around. There's an electric taxi being charged up the road. You've got battery technology driving things, and you have this dreaded word, blockchain. But what it basically means is that people can trade energy, right, through a secure portal. So Ofgem has looked at all of this, and it says it must have a look at whether the current model is the right one to have moving forward, providing the best value for the consumer. And it said that it is not prudent, I like these posh Ofgem words, it is not prudent to wait for the existing reforms to be done. Right, well, what do I think of this? Well, you've got to give them credit where it's due, because if they've recognised technology, and this always happens, technology drives change, drives business, and then legislation catches up later. Okay, and we have the same thing in our world of journalism. We have that same thing with the laws of defamation. You know, we've got suddenly Twitter and social media. No one knows who is a publisher, and we still haven't got that worked out. In the energy world, we're having this massive transition taking place, which is driving business change, and now Ofgem has recognised it has to change what it thinks are normal rules. Because there's no point having a whole bunch of licensing rules for suppliers if suddenly suppliers are your neighbour. Yeah, it's not the same sort of thing. To get a supply licence in this country is a massive bit of work. So I think this is very good news from Ofgem, because they are looking at what is happening, and the biggest criticism people always have is policy acts too slowly. So if they can start looking at this now and say, hey, within the next, I don't know, 16, 18 months, 2 years, we've got these things in place as this stuff changes, it's a good move. Right, talking about technology, the next story is about Kingfisher. Now, you may not know the name, but they're huge. They basically own B&Q, they're a big company, and they have now decided to put in battery storage at their distribution centre in Swindon. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, it's a big deal because Kingfisher is a very big brand, right? Now, when you have big brands making these statements saying, we're going to use what we had. Before, it was, you know, when we started Energy Live News, it was all about, will you perhaps have a solar panel? Will you do some lighting? Most companies have done that. You know, they got that terrible phrase, the low hanging fruit. They've done all that. So what Kingfisher has decided to do is look at where the next stage is. So how will you integrate electric vehicles? How will you integrate renewable energy into your whole kind of portfolio of what you've done? So the distribution centre is massive in Swindon. It's already got solar panels on its roof. So what they're going to do is they're going to use these batteries. And the projection is by using these batteries to store energy, they'll reduce their power use by 30%. And that's a pretty big saving for any company. So if you look at that, it shows you that business, again, referring to the previous step, is adapting before policy. So business is saying, we need somewhere to store this stuff. Let's use the battery technology, let's invest in it. And there are even companies, Johnny and Pri have done stories on companies who are offering you sort of contracts to supply all of that for you. And this is another story that shows you the transition is not starting, it's fully underway. And we're now getting this integration between solar panels and battery storage. And the final couple of stories in this section are about EVs, really. So Toyota has announced driverless EVs. God help us. Anyway, driverless EVs will be used in Tokyo for 2020 Olympics. And it's called Concept I. Concept I, is that right?
Yeah. Concept
I. Anyway, Concept I is a car that will take you around. I really wouldn't trust it, but anyway, that's my view. Anyway, it'll drive you around the athlete village, it'll take delegates. And it's all part of Toyota, who obviously, massive Japanese company, one of the sponsors. They basically want to have, and the Japanese government as well, want to have one of the cleanest Olympic Games in terms of emissions for official fleets. So this is part of that stuff. And that story happened on the same week that Porsche, or Porsche, whatever you want to call them, launched their first new, or revealed rather than launched, their first EV sport doodah, the Porsche Taycan. Sounds quite good. 62 miles per hour in 3.5 seconds. Even Alex doesn't drive that fast. Or maybe does actually in the course. 600 brake horsepower, battery-powered EV. It'll be released next year. And it says, Porsche, that allegedly there's 300 miles between charges. If you're driving at 62 miles per hour in 3.5 seconds, I think it might be draining the battery a little bit quicker than that. But again, a story of a mainstream marque moving into this EV thing. So I can't wait for Clarkson and Co to start driving these things. Let's see what they can do then. Won't be roaring, will you then, Jezza? Anyway, enough of that. Let's know what you think about those stories. On to this week's, oh yes, Banter Box.
Hi.
I don't know what to say, really. Move over, Lanky.
God,
how are you?
God, I missed you.
Did you?
Yeah, of course, every second.
I bet you did. I bet you did. And why did you have the devil eyes last week? What was that all about? He's trying to do this monkfish look. Look, do that. Take that one.
Mole rat.
The mole rat.
Yeah.
None of it.
There we go. I'll roll with it.
None of us like the mole rat, do we?
I like it.
Alex, it's not goer. It's not goer.
That's my new look.
Oh but then you had the devil eyes in the middle of it.
Yeah, they weren't contact lenses. I think the green screen messed with my eyes there. So,
messed with your brain more like. Anyway, how are you? Did you enjoy your power last week? Although you did have to ask Auntie Pri to help, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, it's a team effort, as I'm trying to tell you here.
Look at that.
We like to get each other involved, but
Very good. Now, you get your guns out.
Okay.
Right, you'll have to get this gun out, you fool. Right, this is going to be tricky.
Alex,
have you got micro zoom? Have you got micro zoom on that?
I've got a macro lens.
What the hell? Well, I'm nearly 50 of that thing.
Yeah, it's all the cardio I do.
Sure, yeah, exactly. Anyway, you've been working out, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I've been to the Terra Hale Gym in Shepherd's Bush, which is London's new premier green eco gym.
I love this story. So, especially the video, I think we're playing it now. You tried to do the Rocky intro, didn't you?
Well, yeah, all I needed was a dead cow hanging from the ceiling and it would have been exactly the same, I think.
Anyway, so what happened?
Yeah, so I turned up, I spoke to Michael Hamola, who's the founder and owner of the gym, and he talked me through it.
Yeah.
And yeah, basically the gym's trying to cut emissions in every way whatsoever. First I thought it was just the spinning machines there, which are sustainable through generating electricity as you cycle. Come on. Okay, sorry guys. Jealousy is a terrible thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the spinning machines at the gym generate electricity.
Rowing machines, and I like the way you were trying to do a one-arm curl, like the concentration curl. Yeah, Alex can do that.
I think it was 45 kilograms, maybe.
Yeah.
Or was it 60? Was it
more
65?
Like 45 grams.
Yeah. So the spinning machines there, a class of spinning machines, generates between 1,500 and 3,500 watts in an hour, and that is enough essentially to power 3 kettles. So it's only small. But we have other things at the gym as well. So it's
but the whole idea is it's sustainable. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's designed to be so green and trendy because it's in trendy part of
it. It is quite trendy.
It is trendy, but a lot of money.
Yeah, so I think he has done a really, really good job of actually making every aspect sustainable. But the price tag's not very sustainable because it's £200 a month. So
that is a lot. Now, for rich people, they would probably accept that and they will take that as it is. But I think for most people, it's a bit of a high price to be green, even though you might like it.
Yeah, he's done a great job of making everything green, but I think that's too expensive. And I understand why he's done it, because the return on investment, I think, is going to be 10 years, because he spent so much money setting it up in a very eco-friendly way. But maybe he's bitten off more than he can chew, and he should have only gone half eco for the start, and then gradually turn things green.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, the bit I loved the best was the bikes, weren't there? You can download an app, and you had a go at that.
Yeah.
So does it actually?
So that's the only thing I've ever done in the gym is a spinning class.
Yeah, of course.
So,
anyway. But does it actually generate power then that keeps the gym going then?
Well, you need the whole class of people cycling.
Yeah.
It does, like I said, an hour of like 10 people cycling or something like that generates enough to boil a few kettles. But because it's got LED lights in the ceiling, it can actually power those. But the only problem that jumped out at me is he hasn't installed the batteries yet.
Right,
so
well, it's funny, isn't it, that connection part of it, yes.
Yeah, so you need the batteries really to make the most of them, I think. But no, I think it's working quite well. If you can get people in there, I think it'll work.
What do you think about this whole idea? Because everyone
Gyms are awful.
Why am I not surprised? Anyway, Mr. Manhood, what do you think about the idea of these things? You know, we've got restaurants not giving us straws. We've got coffee places not giving us. And this is a gym that says, you know, you can generate power and all that.
Yeah.
For a young, semi-muscular, lad like
red-blooded young man.
Are these things for you, your generation? Because obviously I'm an old git. I just go to the gym if I want to do. That's it. It doesn't bother me. But for a lot of young people, it's definitely a big driver about the environmental effect of things.
Yeah, of course.
Do you think these sort of things are interesting for people of your age and, you know, friends you've got who actually go to the gym?
I think they are. Oh yeah, well, whether it's the gym or going to get coffee and it's a sustainable cup. I think it is because, you know, people I think are conscious of that kind of thing nowadays with more of these David Attenborough style documentaries, more people talking about it. But I do think that I think certain companies do it quite wholeheartedly and do a good job of actually trying to be sustainable and good for the sake of the environment, which is what I actually think this Terra Hell gym is doing. Yeah, I think it has the best intentions there. But I think lots of businesses also kind of just have it because it's a trendy thing, so they put the screen up.
But I think he's done a great job, so good luck to, is it Michael?
Michael Hamola,
yeah, good luck to him, because I think it's a good idea to try, you know, we know how much you know, you get to a gym, you know how much power there is, you know how much is being used, laundry, the bills for towels, things like that. So the fact he's doing all of this, it's a really good thing. So good luck to him. Obviously he needs a client that's got a bit more drive and ability to lift more than half a pound, as you have.
Yeah.
It was shocking. Alex, why didn't you step in? You should have stepped in. You should have just gunned it. Alex would have just gunned the whole lot. Anyway, thank you, Jonathan.
Cool.
Well done.
Thank you.
Have you learnt a lot this week?
A whole lot. Thank you, Sumit, for that.
That's what I like to hear. God, he's getting worse every week. All right, let's move on to this week's Viewpoint. Now, talking about the stuff we just said with Johnny about people's environmental sort of views and whether we're more environmentally conscious and that becomes a selling point, one story that caught my eye was about wet wipes, baby wipes, whatever you want to call them. So basically, this is a cracking story. A survey was done. I think it was it for a water company, Pri? I think it was something like that, wasn't it?
Water, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere. Okay, right. Well, let's not worry about that. But anyway, it was a survey done, 1,000 people, and it basically said that most of us don't agree with the government's plans to sort of ban these disposable wipes because they're flipping useful. They did a survey, and 35% of people, third, have said, yes, we flushed them down the loo. And I can see why people do that. And then also people, only 15% support banning them. Now, why are they a big issue? I think we've got some video of fatbergs. You've probably heard of these things. We filmed them. Vicky a few years went and filmed them, and there was the big one that was the size of Tower Bridge. We did the story on. These are an amalgamation of things like oil, fats, wet wipes, condoms, other bits of yuck that get thrown down the drains, and then they end up in the sewers and they block it all up. And apparently it costs around about sort of 100 million a year to get rid of these things. So getting rid of wet wipes sounds good because you know, if you can get rid of these things, you save that and blah, blah, blah. But what this story shows you is we like to be environmentally friendly as long as it doesn't disturb our lives. Okay, and if you ban these things, what would you replace them with? Because they are flipping useful, right? So I think this shows you how governments, or, you know, not just governments, companies, when they do these changes, they need to bear in mind what the public can handle, okay? EVs will become much more popular. Why? Because they're becoming cheaper, because there are more of them, because there's more choice, they look different, and they do run on less money, right? They cost more right now, but to run them costs a lot less. So same thing with solar panels. They grew because they became popular, became cheaper, you got power, etc. But this story shows you that if you start saying, oh, we're going to ban everything because it's bad for the environment, you've got to think about what people want. And people do want to use these things. Most people think that they can dispose them properly in a bin. So perhaps not so much of a nannying state on that. Interesting point of view. I think this change in culture is a slow thing. What's your view? Let us know. Write to us. Use all the email guff. You know the score. Right. Okay. Now on to proper journalism. We've had the light entertainment from Johnny, but the senior half of the editorial team is about to join me with a proper story. Is that right? Once you've sorted yourself out?
Yes.
What have you got? Tissue? You've got wet wipe as well?
For you.
What for?
This way? Alex is saying
This
move
way.
closer.
This way. Move closer. Why do I need that for?
Because I thought, because you asked for the fans.
Yeah, I know.
thought
I
it
was
might be
sweating because
hot.
I couldn't handle
The
Johnny's,
lights.
Johnny's manhood in my proximity because he was so manly. Anyway, enough of that. Right. So, what's your story? Which is a good one. It's a
So
tough
I've got one story, yes, from government about fracking and how it affects or the impacts on air pollution. So this is interesting because I'm sure if those of you who watched us last week, me and Johnny, Johnny and me,
Johnny and I.
Johnny and I. Something
God.
happens when you come in front of the
See,
camera.
what happens to them? Yes.
Yeah, so we did the story last week about the government giving the go-ahead
Yes.
for the fracking project.
Which was a big
in
story.
Lancashire, yeah.
Even
Quadrilla.
though I was in Italy, I read that one.
Yeah, but you
There you
didn't
go.
watch it live, so
No, I
we're a
couldn't.
bit...
I was in the middle of nowhere. Didn't
Very,
want to see
very
it.
disappointing.
Anyway, yes, go on.
So that was announced last week,
Mm-hmm.
and this report on fracking and air pollution was published 3 days later.
Yes.
And the interesting thing is, the report was actually handed to ministers 3 years ago.
Whoa.
So-
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I think, can we have some background?
Yeah, I'd love to have some
Yeah.
dun, dun. We haven't got that.
Oh,
There you
that
go.
would have been amazing.
You should tell me. We did that. The dun, dun, dun. Anyway.
Yeah, so it's been written by the Air Quality Expert Group, which
Yeah.
is part of DEFRA, the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs.
Mm-hmm.
But they only published it or quietly published it. Because normally I check DEFRA's
Good day for
page.
bad news. Yeah, go on.
I check DEFRA's page, BAE's page, their government with all the documents. Every single day. I refresh it almost every hour. And this report wasn't there. So it took me a while to find this report. And it was under the Air Quality Expert Group page. So it's still not on the DEFRA announcements or publications page.
Right.
So it was quietly published, and it came 3 days after it gave the go-ahead for the fracking project, which I mean, you can make your
You can make your
decision
well
about.
said. That's a good journalistic point made. Make your own mind up about that.
But the report, obviously, because it's from 2015 and the UK hasn't seen fracking projects. And at that time, they conducted their study based on US projects.
Right.
So what DEFRA said is because the findings of the report were based on studies from the UK projects in the US,
which would be slightly different environmentally.
They needed thorough consideration, in quotes.
3 years,
and they published it as soon as the full sign-off procedures had been completed, which took them 3 years.
You can read into that what you wish.
So basically what the report says, I'm sure you already know, is that fracking does lead to an increase in air pollution. Nationally, obviously it does, but it impacts the local areas even more so compared to the national impact of fracking or extracting shale gas. One of the criticisms is, obviously, as the government said, it's an outdated report as well. So 3 years ago it was run. Since then, we've had a lot of regulatory changes.
But it does show you that, you know, the whole problem with this fracking thing is that there's so much emotion involved that it almost seems like governments are scared to do what they will need to do.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do it, then you do it and you actually make sure the public know the risks and you do the studies. But to have a report that's been sitting there for 3 years is frankly shocking.
Yeah, I think the worst thing is about of not informing the public. They don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
And I think also the criticism is the fact that the UK government has been dragged to court about 3 times already, and also by the EU Commission as well, because it failed to tackle illegal levels of air pollution, and that hasn't been rectified yet.
So the government's line is this report is based on slightly out of data and a model based on the US.
So
but
they
the
needed
fact
more
is it does
consideration.
say fracking.
Yeah, and the chair of the Air Quality Expert Group, which involves a lot of researchers throughout the UK, they said that regardless of the report being written 3 years ago, any kind of industrial process you carry out is going to lead to an increase or is going to lead to emissions. That's going to impact.
You light a fire in your garden, it's going to.
So it doesn't matter how old the report is. That's the argument they've made.
Well
so I
done.
think this was a very interesting
Secret Squirrel. You dug that one out. And of course, more stories, particularly now.
Yes. So if you do have any stories, and also, as you saw,
we're happy to get Johnny out.
Earlier, yes. Do send us some interesting ideas that we can come and film, projects that you might have done on energy efficiency, sustainability.
She wants to get out there.
Yes, so do send it through, or any
things
stories
that involve
that
fashion,
you might have.
Any good things like that?
Or anything
Going
else
somewhere posh?
related to... I mean, I did a fashion story with H&M before, so... I mean, I don't mind doing another one.
Yeah,
I want to go down the sewers.
No, you are a sewer, so you're not going down that anyway.
So send it through to stories@energylivenews.com and have a lovely weekend.
She's so polite. Always. Thank you. Right, so that's all of that. Now, let's talk about what's coming up. So we have our diary dates, and the first one is the 19th of September. We'd like you to join us. This is where Johnny proves his aerobic fitness. We've got our Power Ride Challenge. We're raising money for rheumatoid arthritis. You obviously probably know I have it. But we're doing it for arthritis research, not just into rheumatoid, but also to other forms of arthritis. Get involved. We'd like the whole of the energy sector to get involved. We'd like to get people who are out there who are not in the energy sector to get involved. We're doing our riding day on the 19th of September in East London. You'll find all the details on our website. Come and join us. Or if you're in your own areas, in the north, south, east, wherever you are, and you'd like to get involved, just get in touch with us. We're raising money. You can find our Just Giving page. Go to our Just Giving page and set up your own little bike challenge, your own power ride. Just even count the number of kilometres you do coming into work. For every kilometre, we ask you to donate £1 to a very good cause. So hopefully you'll get involved with that. And then on the 31st of October, we have our major conference, Expo. I'm delighted to announce that Ian Funnell, this ABB CEO, so ABB is a huge company, he's the CEO in the UK. He'll be joining our panel debate that follows, and we've also got obviously Claire Perry, the Energy Minister. We've got big names to be announced very soon. Get yourself registered. Harry's on the calls and he's getting in touch with people, but you can always register on our website. And then to end the year, on the 6th of December. It's party night. It's ELPA. Woo. Personality. So if you've got one, come along. Again, the details are on the site. Any shout-outs or anything? Oh, God. Kevin Corcoran is back. Okay. Hello, Kevin. How are you? He says.
Nice of you to join Short Fuse.
Nice of me to join Short Fuse, yes.
Wearing what looks like a tank top and t-shirt all in one.
I thought you liked it, Kev. Is that it?
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be witty and pithy.
Unimaginative.
Yeah, exactly. Next week I want something better from you, Corcoran. Right, so before we go, quick and finally, and this is the land of, I don't know what's shot there. Is it Game of Thrones? One of those is shot there anyway. Iceland. Yeah, I've been to Iceland. Very quick story about Iceland, right? This is the only place where I went on a boat trip and the bloke was brilliant. And we went whale watching and all that. And he says, by the way, we eat whales here. I said, do you? He goes, yeah. We call it Moby Dick on a stick. I was like, no. It was disgusting. Anyway, so Iceland has got a hydrogen power plant. Yes. So Iceland, if you have ever been there, if you're lucky enough to go there, it's an amazing country. Lots and lots of volcanic power, obviously because it heats up underground water, geothermal. So geothermal energy is used a lot. They use it for the pavements, they use it for everywhere. And now this company called, God, you had to give me this name one, didn't you, Johnny? Orca Naturana Power, something like that. Naturana, ON Power for short. Anyway, they have created a hydrolyzing plant. So they hydrolyze water, which means you basically put a current through it and you release hydrogen gas, which they will use to power buses, cars, and they hope to start doing this all in October. So interesting stuff, and it's also a country where you get your surname from your father or your father's name. Yeah. So Alex, what's your dad called? Paul. So he'd be Alex Paulson. Can you get that? Can you get that? Johnny would be Johnny Malcolmson, or something else that we could call him. Anyway, so there you go. Weird country, but very good for hydrogen power. And then finally, it can't be said enough. It's International Beer Day. Woo! Woo! That's Rob drinking away normally, as we say. Have a great week, even Kevin Corcoran. Enjoy the sunshine. We'll see you next week. Ta-da!